welcome. So what we're going to be touching on today is SAP BTP Essentials for your S/4HANA journey. So it's going to be a BTP-First approach in building and extending beyond the core SAP. So your host today, I'm Jacob Harrison. I'm the account manager at Bluestonex. Look after a lot of the customers, go on a number of customer journeys alongside them. I'll be introducing the webinar and I'll take you through a few real life customer stories at the end. But I'm happy to be joined by our SAP BTP manager, Soumya, who is joining us today. Thank you, Soumya.
Hi, Jacob. Hello all. I'm Soumya Sharma. I've worked with SAP and its technologies for more than 10 years now, and I currently work as BTP manager at Bluestonex.
Thank you, Soumya. So yeah, as a quick introduction to the session, BTP and Bluestonex as well, I'll take you through it. So Bluestonex is an SAP BTP partner. So we work across a full area of BTP in data analytics, automation, integration, app development, and of course the whole new buzzword world of AI as well. We've been around since about 2012, and it's always about a user experience focused approach. Through that, we're a member of the SAP App House Network. Those who don't know, it is a kind of global network of innovation teams and spaces with a real focus on user-friendly design and user-centered approach, and look to make innovation a reality as well. And our flagship product is a master data management tool called Maestro for MDM, MDG, and we utilized BTP to build, in our opinion, a unbeatable user experience. And as you can probably see by the picture, quite a sleek user interface as well, getting it away from those old GUI screens. So in this session, we're going to kind of cover why, when, and how you can access and leverage BTP services to extend your S/4HANA environment, build side-by-side applications, and innovate without disrupting the core system as well. So we're looking to improve and enhance the processes without overwriting them, essentially. So we're going to take you through a little bit about SAP Build and overall SAP BTP and how it can help on that journey. Somebody's going to lead the majority of that. I will then take you through a few active use cases for some of our customers, and we'll be aiming to leave time at the end for questions as well. But do pop anything in the chat during and we'll try and get to it. And if not, we'll make an aim to get it to it at the end. So the idea of SAP BTP and the existing SAP journey is getting to a clean core. Now, obviously, the whole message in S/4HANA is to limit your customizations, but working side by side with BTP, that can obviously support that side of the journey from a non-direct customization and enhance your business processes. And Soumya, I'll ask you to maybe expand on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Jacob. So this diagram maybe explains in short on what happens when there's S/4HANA. So on the left-hand side, what you see is your S/4HANA system. That is, we're assuming the migrations already happened and you are in the S/4HANA system. So what is recommended, what's possible and what's not possible is what is depicted here. The recommendation wise, if there's any simple change that needs to be done, be it on the UI or the logic layer, and it's a very simple ask, then it's still fine that it can be done on this for HANA, assuming that it does not hamper the delivery or the release of latest features and the maintenance of the system. And then there is the typical custom objects and the custom code, which is highlighted in the blue circle, the classic extensibility, which SAP itself perceives as an exceptional cases. So this is not recommended, but in the worst case scenario, if you have to go for it, you go for it. But the only thing is it will definitely hamper the release cycles, the maintenance and the downtimes of your S/4HANA system. So that's when we consider the BTP, and clearly the positioning of the integration suite makes a lot of sense. That is, it'll act as a bridge between the S/4HANA system and the BTP, and it'll also act as a bridge for the new S/4HANA system with your existing integrations with the third-party APIs or tools. And then finally comes the BTP platform itself, which can be used for extensibility and innovations, wherein all your custom code can be stripped off from your core keeping the core as close to the standard SAP system as possible, and parallelly working on innovations or customizing the business process on the BTP.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate that. I suppose, Sonia, the big question people on this webinar probably going to have, and a lot of people in the SAP space, is why BTP for S4HANA? I know you've touched on it a little bit there, but if we can obviously maybe continue on that.
Right, yeah. So considering S4HANA migration as the end target, most of the business prefers to just migrate their existing data in the process from the current legacy system into the S4HANA system. This is a brownfield approach, which focuses on just lift and shift. But most of the organizations consider this to be just a technical upgrade activity, where everything remains the same, just the landscape differs. But we all already know that S4HANA in itself is completely new, with different technology, and the architecture is that's underlying the new system. So what does this mean? For any legacy system, there could be multiple integrations that's already existing with the third-party APIs or tools. And then there could be a huge custom code that's already residing on it. And when we talk about data, the data can have duplicacy, ambiguity, and there's a lot of things that is going on in the legacy system. So when we go with this brownfield approach of just lift and shift, what is expected by the business is simply pick the data, pick the process, put it onto your new system, just plug it in, and everything works smoothly. So it's just another technical upgrade. But the reality is not that. So that's where we urge the customers to not consider this whole activity to be just technical. So this is beyond just a technical migration. The thing that must be considered for the migration is not just migration of the process or the data. What happens after the migration is where most of the time and effort will be spent from an organization perspective. So what we advise or suggest is, anyways, the time and the effort will be spent. So why not use it wisely? Instead of migrating, why not focus it into a more digital transformation? So, for example, the legacy system has integration with multiple third-party tools. So instead of just tweaking it and adjusting it for your new platform and spending um, limitless efforts and time to test it and make it work, why not consider using BTP's integration suite, which is one of the most extensively used services? So what it does, it simply connects your new system or your current system to the third-party applications and the tools. It'll act as a bridge between your current ecosystem and the third-party tools, while it can also act as a bridge to the BTP. And when you're migrating to the new S4HANA, it's all seamless, because already the integrations have been taken care of. You can simply migrate with one less of a headache. Similarly, side by side extensibility. Every legacy system will, of course, have custom code. So, what happens in a brownfield migration? You take the same custom code, put it into the new S4 HANA system, expect it to work, maybe tweak it a bit, spend some amount of time to test it, validate it. Instead of it, why not analyze if it's really needed as part of the custom code? Why not strip it out and redesign it on BTP so that your new S4 HANA is closer to the clean core while you still have your extensibility, which is basically your custom code working on a whole new platform in which you can even get into innovations. So this is just about the process. Now coming to the data, when you're migrating the data, you can start using BTP even during the migration phase. So when the data is being migrated, you will have to do a lot of checks, a lot of repetitive tasks, which is to clean the data, to eliminate duplicates. So when there is such repetitive tasks that come into picture, you can use the process automation tools from BTP, which can probably schedule a job on a daily basis to check your data, check the health of the data, give you a report, and probably a real time monitoring of how the data is being migrated. So, with the likes of DataSphere and Analytics Cloud, you can monitor the health of your data on a daily basis, and also you can compare the data that exists in your current legacy system versus the new S4 HANA. So all these are with respect to the process of migration. But BTP does not end there. You can still use it for innovations by using the build tools, irrespective of your organization's resource technical capability. The build tools can be used for innovations.
Brilliant, thank you, Soumya. So moving forward, we're going to move on to kind of the future of BTP in the space. I'm sure many of you saw TechEd or you read a few of the reports that came off the back of TechEd. So Soumya, relating to BTP, what came out of TechEd and what is the future in that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so BTP currently offers around 80 odd services for various tasks. And I think the highlights of the TechEd were vibe coding, the RPA foundational models, and we have clearly not called that out here because we assume that everybody in the SAP world will already be aware of it and they must be hearing enough about it, which is vibe coding, AI, RPA. So what we have called out is a bit away from the traditional terms. That is, we just want to show to our audience that it's just not the buzzwords or the high level hi-fi tech words that's coming up from the SAP on the BTP layer. We just also want to say that even the basic services are being evolved with AI. So in the upcoming year, that's 2026, we can see a lot of advancements in the existing services, not just with the AI, but every service is getting evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of big up and coming areas, as you say, that aren't necessarily related to the buzzwords that we don't want to be forgotten about because they are very good areas. So one of the things we get asked the most at every level across our organization, but certainly our consultants, like Soumya, is, oh, well, I'm doing an S/4HANA implementation. Why should I activate BTP now? Should I wait? Can it help me during the process? Can it help me before the process? And can it help me after the process? I suppose, Sonia, could you maybe break down the three steps of that or the three possible approaches and kind of what we generally recommend given people's situations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, it's a very common ask for anybody in the business to ask, when should we go for it? Should it be before, during, or after the implementation? And based on the experiences that we have had with our customers, our recommendation is always earlier the better because we do know that
Absolutely.
at some point the transformation must happen. So, why not do it at the earliest when you have sufficient time, rather than do it at the very end stage where you have to do everything at once. So if we consider BTP before the S4 HANA migration, that's the best phase to start including BTP because there will be ample amount of time where the business can sit and decide on the process basically and decide where the custom code can be redesigned, where the solutions can be rewritten. By doing this, you will remove the custom code layer itself from your core, which means reduce technical debt. And you can also get the maximum out of the newer BTP services in the initial phase itself. And also, the development possibilities are more because when you invest in BTP at the earlier stage, you can recognize the technologies in which you can actually create the solutions, and you're not just limited to ABAP anymore. So that's always a best case scenario to begin early. But what happens if you're already in the migration phase? You can still get some advantages. So there is something called as freeze periods that's there when the system upgrade actually happens, which means the business will have to wait until the system is ready to proceed. But if you start using BTP already during your migration journey, that means you can still proceed to do some bit of your migration activity, which is your creation of, let's say, a new business application or eliminating certain process by handing it to automation. It ensures that the business continuity is still intact, even though there are freeze periods. And finally, is after the S4 HANA migration. So now we have migrated, gone through the entire journey of moving across data, process, custom code, everything we've just picked up from the existing landscape, put it onto the S4 HANA. And can we consider BTP now? Of course, yes. This means there are no barriers. There's a lot of freedom and excitement for everybody to try out the BTP. But our recommendation here would be to define a roadmap for BTP and not try everything at once. It is always good to identify from where to begin. And I think this is where our advisory team, based on the experience that we've had, can help the organizations to tailor on where to begin, how to begin, and all such details.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just to put an active real life spin on that as well for a customer at the moment. We have a customer going live with S4 in July. They wanted to look at some warehouse applications. Now, we've basically said, look, why don't you do a 5 or 6 month proof of concept? And if you like it, we will simply move it onto your S4 when you go live because the effort to do so, as long as there's not a million different changes, is pretty straightforward as well. So it's getting that, it's not delaying your wish list, especially the more important things. And that's what that customer's going through right now because January to July, 6 months, and then they go live, obviously, assuming on time, of course, which is not always that easy. And yeah, that should be a good real life example of why maybe before can work, as long as you're not boiling the ocean, as Sonia touched upon. So, Sonia, we obviously don't want to lose you in our organization, but if you were to be dropped in somewhere else tomorrow and you were said we need to get BTP going within our organization, how would you be recommending people get started?
Yeah, so BTP is vast, and considering the current trend, it's going to only expand further, which means there are a lot of options to choose from. There are a lot of services, and there's a lot of entry points with which you can begin with BTP. So for any person to explore BTP, it's quite simple. Just get a trial account, just play around with the services, and see what sort of fits you. But when it comes to an organization, that's not the case. So basically, there'll be a global account that's provided by BTP. So first, we have to understand the needs of the business, and then we have to first decide the environment in which the accounts should run in. Basically, the technical environment of Cloud Foundry, Kima, ABAP, what's the runtime that's preferred. Um, that's a first place to identify how to proceed with the BTP. And then comes the crucial part, which is the BTP sub-accounts, which are the most important structural elements of a BTP. We have to decide based on what do we divide or create the sub-accounts. So far, we have given to all our customers the division of development sub-account, quality sub-account, and production sub-account, and pre-prod in certain cases. But there could be use cases where business need not necessarily follow the development ideology. They might want separations based on functional areas like retailing, warehousing, distribution, for example. So what's right is the next step that we have to identify. And after that, it gets a bit technical in understanding what sort of technical languages are needed to create the applications and how they must be deployed and the various BTP services that are required for the entire business functionality. And then, of course, followed by training to the organization resources to understand what exactly is happening in their BTP environment. And it's not just about the technical stuff, but it's also about the mindset of the people that needs to be aware that they will be using BTP as a platform, which means there will be fixed release cycles, which is maintenance, upgrades that will keep happening, and there'll be a lot of evolving bits that comes with BTP.
Absolutely. And I suppose you have put together a couple of expert tips for a few different services for a quick adoption, Sonia. So maybe you could talk through these three services.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, there are more than 80 odd services. So the first services that we recommend for our customers to begin with are the three that I've listed down. That's the identity service, that's purely used for identity authentication and providing access to the users. So that makes the whole process of authorization a bit easier, and it's sort of onboarding you from a non-BTP world to the BTP world. That's the first one. Then the recommendation is to use build work zone, which is the essentially it's the SAP Launchpad, but it provides a unified platform for the end users so that they will be aware of from where they can access the applications, and it has a look and feel that's unified. So that's something to onboard the employees of the organization with. And finally, the build tools. So this is a recommended list of services for build tools because the organization's resources can play around with it for innovations or for any kind of development, irrespective of their technical skill set. So these are the three that we would recommend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Soumya. Good starting point, I think. And I suppose lastly on your end, BTP as a strategic companion for that digital transformation. Maybe just a bit of a recap on a lot of this you've mentioned, but yeah, anything else
Yeah,
to add there?
yeah. I think BTP has moved away from the extensibility and the innovative platform towards being a companion for the entire S/4HANA migration journey. So it's more of transformation for which BTP will be used, not just a migration. So it helps in the pre-migration activities, that is handling of the integrations, that's the legacy connections. And while migration, it can help you in redefining your custom code altogether with the side-by-side extensibility. And finally, even after migration, you can still use the platform for creating newer, innovative applications for your business. So it's mostly a companion now rather than just a platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Soumya. Really, really appreciate your input there, and hopefully, people got some good expertise. I'm now going to take you through a few real life cases we've done, more so in the app development space than any of the other services in BTP, but just to give people a flavor of kind of what we've come across there. So the first one is Prince's Group. If anyone likes tuna mayonnaise sandwiches, they probably made the tuna. So what we did was we designed a number of engineering applications. So they essentially had a number of the original legacy Sky apps. Maybe raise your hand in the Teams function if you've been around SAP long enough to remember those Sky applications. So we did a few day in the life workshops with their end users at their workshops in the UK and delivered an initial prototype acting as kind of a minimum viable product in just 2 days using the SAP build function and the Fiori type launchpads, as well as obviously mobile application development. Following that initial prototype, we then developed tailored solutions and started off with three main applications for creating notifications, confirming work orders, and a work order analytics slash reporting application as well. So what that's done over at Princes is they've now had 7 custom applications. I believe they have around 50 or 60 total Fiori applications sitting there, and 7 of these customized by us. And it's been rolled out across 16 or 17 sites around the world. It's supported a number of acquisitions they've done in recent times by skinning these applications, by skinning and being kind of redesigning and rebranding for the new locations needs, which has reduced the costs and sped up the onboarding for these new sites for the applications. And we also have BTP high availability in these applications, which if we get time, we may dive into afterwards, but that essentially acts as a failover. So if BTP was to drop, it would not stop your production in BTP. It would essentially move on to a new high availability production sub-account, taking the uptime from around 99.4% to 99.99%. And the second one was Autoglass, and hopefully this won't cringe anyone out, but we did have to repair and replace some of their processes along the journey. So what we did was we were approached by them to build a new sales order slash product purchase application, as they had kind of reached the capacity of being able to do it manually within the size of their business. We delivered a 5-phased approach with an initial discovery workshop, again a day in their lifestyle approach. We adapted an existing application we built as a sales order application. We configured it. We did the BTP config and the application config to get them set up on BTP, have the app working for them, and then deployed and supported the journey. We kind of reviewed the impacts of ordering parts across the entire business, and it impacts them from warehouse to phone call operator. So when someone needs a new windscreen, and to financial controller level as well when they're approving invoices. And on top of that, as they're not kind of an SAP house, they have a generic ERP partner. We deliver additional SAP finance process consultancy for things like reporting and analytics as well. Now, we were told by Barry, who's the IT manager at Also Glass, that this BTP app acts as the equivalent of 3 full-time employees. I'll get into what he means by that in a moment in terms of the sales level and the volume they're able to do. And you'll see a bit more about that in the outcome. So they've managed to do 4,500 direct sales through the app in the first year without the need for increasing any headcount or any manual intervention. The depot managers can now purchase the products independently, meaning they don't have to kind of call up, see if it's available, see where it's available, and calling around, saving a lot of time, streamlining workflows, improving internal turnaround, customer turnaround, and therefore customer satisfaction, which is what it's all about. They also were able to kind of remove manual steps across the whole business in that area with an automated approach moving forward. And again, we've lost our slide now. We were told again by Barry, who spoke with me at a session, session in Dublin last year, that in his 30-something years working in the IT world, it was the smoothest project he's worked on in terms of delivery, go live, and the support they've received along the way. So hopefully we've given you a good flavour today of the technology side, but also some real life use cases as well. So while we've got a bit of time, can we move into Q&A? And while people are typing their questions in the chat, just to let you know, we do have another webinar coming up on the 18th of February specific with S4HANA for SAP Integration Suite. So if you scan the QR code, you'll be able to register for that. And thank you for attending, and look forward to seeing if there is any questions.